honor. I think this is my third time with you, and I'm so excited and happy to be here. The topic from Sinners for Spiritual Living headquarters is grounded beyond the beginning. And I'm excited about this topic because I think that now, maybe more than ever before, it's so important that we are grounded beyond the beginning. When I speak about beginning, I'm talking about Genesis. I'm talking about a launch. I'm talking about the origination, the starting place, the birth of something, the dawn of something. And grounded brings my attention to the earth, to the foundation, to a way and a place of feeling assured, of feeling established, of feeling settled, of feeling fixed, of feeling stabilized. And to go beyond means farther away from where I am, continuing after something, over the mark or past the boundaries or past whatever the limits of my imagination are. And of course, this is the second Sunday of the new year, and it does mean a new year and a new life and perhaps a new you. Perhaps you've been thinking about that too, maybe writing affirmations and resolutions that are bringing you to a new awareness of this opportunity to make a choice for yourself of a new life. And we know that in the first book of the Bible, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, which is another way of saying in the beginning, the Word was love, the Word was light, the Word was life. And so we honor this starting place, this opportunity to say that here I am in this new year and this new life, and that I am here for God as love and as light and all of the qualities that are associated with the divine. So you know that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. That's what creates a new beginning, when some other thing that used to be the new beginning comes to an end. And sometimes the new beginnings can be disguised as a painful ending, or it might actually be a painful ending. Like, think like if you ever have just lost your job and you feel devastated and it feels like it wasn't fair. And all of a sudden you discover that you have a new job that's even more wonderful than the one that ended. The idea of leaving your favorite teacher's class. I used to have this feeling sometimes. I would be so attached to a teacher and I wouldn't want to leave, but I found many times that in the new teacher's class, I learned some lessons that I might not have been able to learn in my favorite teacher's class. And also the opportunity when it's time to stop being a kid and to start being an adult, start acting like and taking on the mantle of a grown person instead of a child. And sometimes the changes are all of a sudden, and sometimes it's a more gradual unfolding. But there will come a time when you believe that everything is finished, and that is really the beginning. And in this teaching, we talk about the experience of death. We can think of it as death, of laying down the mortal coil. But our teaching says that actually what we're calling death is really a transition into a greater life, into a more expanded idea of our life and of what that can be. So the idea of ending, God makes all things new. God is recreating you right now in its image and likeness and creating a new sense of who you are. I found that the late Congressman John Lewis said, what I try to tell young people is that if you come together with a mission and it's grounded in love and a sense of community, you can make the impossible possible. To be grounded in love is to be grounded in all of the things that are a part of love, like compassion, like peace, like um, generosity of heart and mind. Along with love comes the ability to accept, to forgive, to be grateful in all things, not necessarily for all things, but to find the opportunity to be grateful in all things, which leads me to that idea of wanting to be more loving, wanting to be grounded in love and wanting to have more love in my heart. And it always reminds me of this beautiful writing by Howard Thurman in For the Inward Journey called I Want to Be More Loving. And so Howard Thurman writes, I want to be more loving in my heart. I want to be more loving. Often there are good and sufficient reasons for exercising what seems a clean, direct resentment. Again and again, I find it hard to hold in check the sharp retort. The sharp retort, the biting comeback. When it seems that someone has done violence to my self-respect and decent regard. How natural it seems to give as good as I get, to take nothing lying down, to announce to all and sundry in 1,000 ways that no one can run over me and get away with it. All this is part of the thicket in which my heart gets caught again and again. Deep within me, I want to be more loving in my heart, to glow with a warmth that will take the chill off a room which I share with those whose lives touch mine in the traffic of my goings and comings. I want to be more loving. I want to be more loving in my heart. It's often easy to have the idea in mind, to plan to be more loving, to see it with the mind and give a sense to the thought of being loving. This is crystal clear, but I want to be more loving in my heart. I must feel like loving. I must ease the tension in my heart that ejects the sharp barb and the stinging word. I want to be more loving in my heart, that with unconscious awareness and deliberate intent, I shall be a kind and gracious human being. And thus those who walk the path with me may find it easier to be loving, to be gracious because of the love of God, which is increasingly expressed in my living. I want to be more loving in my heart. I really do want to be more loving. I want to be more grounded. When I'm grounded, I'm not easily toppled. I'm not easily knocked off or pushed over. I'm not uprooted. I don't feel overwhelmed. I'm so sorry. I usually put this little dog up. I thought I would give him a chance to, I think I should, just for a moment. He's gone again. No, I'm sorry. Come here. Here he is. He's a guardian of the house, and he's a little big mouth. All right, Jackson, come on. I do a talk every Sunday morning for my own ministry, and I had put him up for that. And so I thought that maybe, you know, he was being quiet, maybe he would be quiet. So I apologize. But when you're grounded, it's a chance to stop slipping and sliding around. It's a chance to stop peeping and hiding from things. It's a chance to stop being so indecisive, to feel so insecure, to stop being wishy-washy, to stop being swept away with your emotions, to stop feeling like you're just blowing in the wind. this idea of wanting in this grounding to be more loving in my heart. I really do want to be more loving, but things happen. Things happen like, oh, the things that are happening in this country, the things that are happening in the government, in the culture, in our communities, the personal things that are happening with our relationships, with our family, with our kids and our spouse, with our finances, with our health, with our jobs, and, with the virus. And I came to an understanding of the virus being an acronym for a very important reminder to unify with the Spirit. And everything, so many things now seem to be very important reminders to unify with the Spirit, because when I'm unified with the Spirit, I'm one with all that God is. And God is intelligence, and God is compassion, and God is peace and harmony. So I'm grateful for reminders, and I want to talk today a little bit about a reminder that I had recently. And you just met my dog, so you might as well meet the rest of the crew. And that is to say that I do have a friend and a Reiki master and a healer that is able to see things that I can't see and hear things that I don't hear. And she asked me once if I had any cats, and I told her, yes, I have 4 outside and 1 inside, and a little dog, and they're all rescues. And 3 females outside and 1 male named Antonio, and a little female inside named Eve. And she's friends with Antonio, and they talk to each other through the mirror lots of times. But yeah, I told her I had 4 outside and 1 in, and she said, well, there's another cat that's trying to come. And I thought, well, what? What's that's about? And really, the inn feels full here because we have a lot of animals. But okay, she says that's what she saw. And sure enough, 3 weeks later, about 10 days ago, I look out on the patio and there is this orange cat. And he's rather, well, I'm saying he because 80% of orange cats are males for some reason. It has something to do with the X chromosome that they only need 1 of. And so most of them are males. And he was, and I was kind of intrigued with him because after all, he was prophesized, he was foretold that he was going to show up, and here he is. And my cats are kind of like, everybody's kind of keeping their distance and kind of giving him his space. When he saw me, he ran. And then he came back a couple of days later, and he was here a little longer. And the 3rd day, he just laid out on the grass like he lives here, And I was just wondering about him and just thinking about what I was to do, if I should offer him some food or not, although he never did come around mealtime. But then things started to change a little bit. And the other cats really didn't seem to care so much for him, and he started chasing them. And I was very concerned about that. And I started like knocking on the glass and yelling at him, and so that he would run away, because he didn't run away immediately like he did when he first started. So Friday, I heard a big commotion right outside the window. The orange cat and my male cat, Antonio, were having sounded like a big fight. And it was very upsetting. And I ran outside and I was saying, stop. And they weren't stopping. It went on for a while. And it was kind of scary to me. And then finally the orange cat ran away from the bush, like towards the retaining wall. And I start running after him and saying, scat, go, don't come back. And while I'm running, I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I railing across this grass with sandals on, and there's sprinklers in the grass and gopher holes and what have you? I could fall and hurt myself. But when I got there to the end of the wall, then he had to climb up this other fence to get out of the yard. And I was saying, stop, don't come back. And I was all worked up, kind of like I am now that I'm telling you about it. And I turned to look and I saw Antonio go and walk around the side of my house, and he disappeared. And I was very upset because, Antonio was the strongest one. The females are a little older than he is. They're like about 15. And I didn't want the orange cat to bother anybody else, but maybe it felt like if it could overpower power Antonio, then, you know. And so um, I just found myself to be angry. I was angry. I was worried about my cats. And I thought, if he comes back again, maybe I'll have a slipper or something and I'll throw it at him. I probably wouldn't hit him, but he would see that I'm serious or something. And I thought, oh my goodness, what's going on here? How grounded could I be in this moment as I'm finding myself going through these changes? And it was time to go to bed and I was still upset. And Antonio didn't come back. He didn't come for dinner and he didn't come back to go to sleep on his bed outside on the patio. And I was worried about him. I was afraid maybe he might be hurt or he might really be frightened, like hiding underneath the house. And, I know this young man, he's talked to me once about calling a meeting with God. He said, I called a meeting with God. And I don't think that I consciously thought of doing that, but that kind of is what happened because I felt myself thinking about the divine and I felt myself getting calm and I felt myself getting settled. And then I heard this question came to me and I thought, am I hating because I love? Am I hating this cat because I love my cats and I feel like he's going to do something? And I didn't really hate him. I really love animals, but I really didn't like him. I was angry. But is there ever any cause to hate because we love? That came to me as an interesting question. And I'm still thinking about it. And perhaps there's someone or something that you really dislike because it's different from something that you do like or something that you're familiar with or something that you do care about. And then I thought, if God is love, how can I be so unloving? Another one of those questions that didn't come immediately with the answer, but it did give me pause to consider for myself. And I realized that I really did want to get right with myself. I did want to ground myself in love. And I did want to be more loving in my heart. I didn't want the cat to feel that it was welcome to come back. But I knew that if it did come back, I wasn't going to scream and yell and run and throw things at it. That I just couldn't be there. I couldn't vibrate in that space anymore because what I felt in this meeting that I had, I felt grounded. I felt that I had a chance to unify with the presence. I felt that the Spirit of God was seeing me, not that the Spirit of God doesn't always see me, but I felt a transparency. I felt that there was an understanding and that there was a clarification of what was going on. And I also realized that God doesn't yell at me and throw things at me when I do disappointing things. When I act like I know everything, or I act like I deserve special treatment, or I act like I overstep my bounds some way. The Spirit of God does not hate me. The Spirit of God does not really dislike me. None of the ways that I responded to this creation of God and to the situation that involved the creation of God. What causes me to go that way? And it was something about grounding, and it was something about unifying, and it was something about remembering who I am at the beginning of anything. Everything is a beginning of something. So at any point in my life, at any time and under any circumstances, there's this opportunity for me to ground myself. The Spirit of God doesn't get upset with me, doesn't banish me when I gossip and talk about people. And I thought, wait a minute, sometimes it just really feels good to gossip. Get a little laugh in here or there. And that couldn't be a terrible thing, could it? I mean, it's just human nature. And then the question came to me, Did Jesus gossip? How about Buddha? Do I think that Gandhi would gossip about people? Mother Teresa? So when we talk about human nature, we need to choose our humans carefully. Not that we have to be so strict with ourselves, but they're just, there's a vibration of love energy that doesn't include a lot of things that we might think are normal and natural. And I wonder if you might find that that is true for you. So when Saturday came, Antonio didn't come for breakfast and he didn't come for dinner. And the orange cat didn't come either. And I really wanted Antonio to be okay. And I really wanted the orange cat to be okay too, but I just really didn't want him to come. But as I said, if he did come, I knew that my response would be very different from the first time that he did. I know that everybody doesn't like cats. My father didn't like cats, and I was always finding a cat when I was a little girl and bringing it home. And he would just take the cat and put it back outside on the sidewalk. So everybody doesn't like cats, but am I supposed to like everything? I mean, how hard is this spiritual practice supposed to be? And the answer came, no, I don't have to like everything, but I am supposed to love. I am supposed to love God with all my heart, all my soul, and all my mind. I'm to love my neighbor as myself. And I'm to love my enemies. Well, who gets to do that? I don't know, but the way that I'm thinking about it, it becomes hard to think of having an enemy. I mean, a person might do things that an enemy might do, but I can't really think of anybody as my enemy. And if I'm not thinking of them as my enemy, as I'm thinking of them as my neighbor that I just have a disagreement with, then it's not impossible to love what might be thought of as my enemy. Well, cats are one thing, but rats, I don't like rats. I don't know what good they are. And so I Googled what good are rats? And I found out that they're actually good for the ecosystem. They eat trash, they eat garbage, they eat things that we throw away. And not only that, apparently they are very good for owls and falcons and hawks that eat rats. And those birds need to eat something too. So they're beneficial in that way. And actually, they do make good pets sometimes. My girls, when they were young, had pet rats. Okay, so rats one thing, but what about black widow spiders? I do not like black widow spiders. And I Googled what good were black widow spiders, and I found, quote, they only bite when they're restrained. As long as you don't pick them up and squeeze them, you're fine. And their bite rarely kills anybody. And not only that, they eat pestiferous bugs. And I didn't know what pestiferous meant. Maybe you do, but it means something that carries a disease or an infection. So black widow spiders eat other bugs that carry disease. I still don't want to invite the orange cat or the black widow spider or the rat into my home or into my space. But at the same time, I don't have to get all upset and act crazy because they show up. So maybe there's someone that you are aware of in your life that you really don't resonate with and you really don't care for. And with a grounded state of mind, you could just let them be. The person that seems to be an enemy, person that seems to want to do you harm, you could just let them be, and you could be unified with the Holy Presence. You could be in a state of love and harmony and peace. And after my little meeting, the meeting that I had, meeting of the minds and hearts with the Spirit of God, what I was thinking about was the love of God. And all the other particulars just seemed to fade in comparison. I just wasn't so interested. So I didn't have to be all worked up and angry and upset about it. It's not like sticking your head in the sand. It is like being grounded in the presence beyond what anybody would imagine could be possible or could be part of the human nature to be so forgiving or to be so loving or to be so generous. What's wrong with those people? Well, what's wrong with them is that they are realizing their oneness and their union with God by whatever name we know God, as the Heavenly Father, as the Divine Mother, as the Elder Brother, as the Great Spirit, whatever it is. Everything else fades in comparison as I am realizing that I'm here for God. We sing a song in the Agape Choir about being here to reveal what was said in the beginning. And what was said in the beginning was God. What was said was love and life. So think about the person or the people in your life that you are really at odds with. You wouldn't invite them to anything. You don't like them in your space, and they kind of give you the creeps. You know, the bad people, the lazy people, the crazy people, the people on welfare, the people on drugs, those slick politicians, the filthy rich, the liars, the ones who cheat on their wives, the pushovers, the suckers, whatever the identification is with those people that are just not like you and not like yours. What do you want to do about them? If God is love and you want to be more loving in your heart and you are on a spiritual path, do you want to think about the opportunity to ground yourself, to unify yourself with the presence of God? It might be a sign. You know, those people might be here to simply be a very important reminder of your unification with God, of your oneness with God. A time for you to get grounded beyond the beginning of anything, which means to be grounded in any moment, at any time, and under any circumstances. What a difference it makes to be rooted in the Spirit and to be intending to be more loving in your heart. If you find that you have one or two people like that cause you to be very upset about things, you might consider calling a meeting with God, calling a meeting with yourself and your higher self, or with the only self that is, to find a place that is calm and quiet, like maybe early in the morning or late in the evening or any time in between, because in the timeless dimension, it's always now and it's always a perfect time. Just to let yourself relax, your body and your mind, your breath, to just let it go. And to be there, remembering how much God loves you. Like God loves you as if you were the only one to love. Can you imagine that? Loves you that much, to remember that in this quiet time, in this meeting that you're having. And maybe to listen more than you talk. I mean, it could be fine to have a conversation where you're explaining how you feel about things and how hard it is to do this and that and why it is that you feel, but leave space for listening. Listening to the sound of the silence, listening to the hush of heaven, listening to yourself communing with the Spirit of God. Hearing God say, "You are my beloved in whom I am well pleased," no matter what. And then near the end of the meeting, as you are collecting all the parts of yourself, and as you're in tune with and in alignment with the spirit within you, you might hear something. You might hear yourself saying these words, and these words are taken from a song that I know from the Agape Choir about going back to the beginning. But really, if you if you want, you could just try it right now, just closing your eyes and imagining that you're just finishing having this meeting with the presence of God. And you've been listening for the most part, and you're feeling that you want to be more loving in your heart. And you hear yourself saying, "My heart is open. I am your instrument. Live as my life. Shine through my countenance. I'm willing. What would you have me do? Open my mind. Yes, I am here for you. I am here for you." And if you closed your eyes, you may gently allow them to open as I share with you that as I was in my meditation and I practice looking up as taught by Emma Curtis Hopkins just for a few moments each day. And this was Friday night or Saturday morning as I meditate during both times. And I heard myself saying, "I am here for you." I heard myself speaking to the living God saying, "I'm here for you. I'm here for God. And you are too. This is what you have come here to reveal, the face of God." When I finished the first draft of this talk that I'm sharing with you, it was about 8:30 or 9 last night, and I looked and Antonio was at the door. He had come home, and I welcomed him and I gave him his food, and he had a little scratch on his nose, but he was all right. But I really felt like maybe the whole thing was just meant to be a reminder for me that if a cat coming in the yard could be so upsetting, that it's really an opportunity for me to return to who I am and to ground in the presence and to stay grounded beyond any beginning. Thank you so much for inviting me back today and for giving me the opportunity to share with you. God bless you and thank you.